This is Create the Next from ProCFO Partners, where every week we explore strategies and ideas for financial management and growth to help today's businesses put their financial picture in context.
Welcome back to Create the Next from ProCFO Partners, and today I'm here with a special client story, and I have Justin Tomney from Ultra Bright Lightz with us. And Justin works with Dan Bartley, one of the CFOs at ProCFO Partners. And Justin, I spent some time on your website, and I'm really interested in how you started getting involved with Ultra Bright Lightz. But let's back up. What is Ultra Bright Lightz? Let's tell everybody what it is you do and who you do it for.
Sure. Ultra Bright Lightz is an emergency vehicle supplier. We operate entirely on the internet, providing bright and affordable lights for first responders across America and even around the world. So
right away, there's a couple things that I really love. One is you've got a specific audience, a specific market. It's for emergency vehicles. And you've got a specific commerce channel, which is strictly internet, strictly e-commerce. What was your decision to go strictly e-commerce with your distribution?
I think primarily it was my age, being a little bit younger. That was I grew up on the internet, and that's what I've known best. But beyond that, I think that's where the world is going as a whole. More recently during COVID, e-commerce was the place to be. And we've been in there and we were able to excel during a time like COVID and even before COVID too. Everything was just on e-commerce. Everybody wants everything as easily as possible and delivered as fast as possible. And that's what I focus on day in and day out. And that's where we excel the most.
Are there any unique challenges that presents to you? I can't imagine, some sort of a brick and mortar storefront for what Ultra Bright Lightz does. But so I think that you're absolutely right that I love this this strictly e-commerce, strictly online. And I also am really interested in how your own sort of, as you said, your age or your own sort of station, your digital station has informed that. But what unique challenges does that present to the business?
The biggest one by far is inventory. Amazon has created this model of delivering things in 2 days and sometimes 1 day. Everybody wants everything now. In order for e-commerce to really compete with brick and mortar, where you can walk in the store and walk out with the product within a matter of a few minutes, e-commerce needs to have the product available in stock and be able to deliver it to any part of the United States in again, what Amazon has established now is 2 days as the standard. So carrying that inventory, managing that inventory, and the cash flow to support that inventory is by far the biggest challenge.
And that is some sophisticated stuff. As you said, the buyer, the consumer, has these expectations that are driven by somebody with the global reach of an Amazon. When you started the business, let's talk about that just a second. You mentioned your age, so you're kind of a young startup. What made you start the business? How did you get going in this direction?
I was originally a volunteer firefighter, so I just saw a need that people needed bright and affordable lights. Being a volunteer, you're not paid, so everything you do is out of your own pocket. And at the time, some of the lights that were out there were really expensive. And if you had a budget of a few $100s, you could maybe buy 1 or 2 lights. But I thought if I can bring in more affordable lighting, you could have an entire vehicle for a few $100s. And when I first started, I was actually manufacturing the lights and I was soldering up the lights myself. Really got to know the product right down to the PCB board and how everything worked. And now we don't do that anymore. But that's kind of how the company started. And we kept that affordable lighting mantra from very beginning. And even today, we still try to have the most affordable lights that are super bright, so we can support our volunteer firefighters.
There's so much that you just shared that I love. How long have you been in business?
15 years, actually. It's our 15th anniversary this year.
Congratulations. That's just fantastic. I relate. I've got this idea. I'm a digital marketer, and so I spend a lot of time with websites. And one of the things that I coach when I go in and do some teaching or training is I coach younger people who are used to kind of these drag and drop easy models. It's really great if you know how to code, if you can get under the hood and do stuff. And I imagine that I'm picturing you late at night with a soldering iron and smoke and all this kind of stuff. But I think that probably helped shape you as a leader and as a product expert and, as a business runner and owner and manager. I bet that those those experiences helped shape the kind of leader and business that you have today. Do you agree?
Absolutely. I share with potential prospects and even our current employees all the time that there's very few, if any, jobs here that I haven't done or was the first person to do. So I have a great understanding for what everybody does and a great appreciation for what they do because like I said, I was the first one to do that, or I did it at one point, and I know what it takes to excel in that job. And I think that culture has really resonated and gives me a deep appreciation for the employees and the value that they bring.
Good for you. That says a lot about the culture of Ultra Bright Lightz. How large is your team, or how big of a group are you managing, or are you asking other managers to manage?
We're 15 right now, 15 employees. And, we grew from just myself a couple of years ago. And then I hired my wife, or who's now my wife, girlfriend at the time. And we've just grown it up to 15 people, and we're continuing to grow.
I want to ask you about that growth in a second. I love what you shared about how you're a guy who there's nothing you haven't done around here. I've picked up the mop and I've swept the floors. I know what's going on in this organization. What kind of leader are you, do you think? Are you a really hands-on, kind of like to get in there, almost an engineering mindset, or are you more of a let me set the vision, let me be the creator of direction and strategy, and is that something that's evolving? Have you noticed yourself sort of changing or growing into a different kind of role?
Yeah, so I've really become a true CEO over the last probably 2 years or so. I built my leadership team under me, who now manages all the people who do things, the day-to-day operation, and I find my time being spent more and more in meetings and just managing bigger projects and bigger things rather than being able to deal with the customer and what product specifically is being shipped out and, smaller issues like that. So I would say my approach, I like to be hands-on, but I think just my time is being spread thin, and I don't really get that time anymore, unfortunately. It certainly, as we've grown, I've noticed I used to have a connection and time to speak with everybody individually, probably every day. And now I don't really quite have that time to speak to people and find out what they're working on and what's going on and what the issues are and things like that. But having my leadership team under me has been really helpful to make sure that the issues are still being addressed and customers' needs are being met and product issues are being addressed, and whatever sort of fires pop out throughout the day and the week.
Good for you. I feel like that's a great sort of introduction as you talk about your leadership team. I know that Dan Bartley works with you as your Parttime CFO. Talk to me just a little bit about that relationship. What led you to a part-time CFO versus hiring a full-time employee, or did you consider that, or what's been your experience with just the role of the CFO in your organization?
Yeah, I think I needed a CFO type position I needed one for a long time before finally I found ProCFO and Dan. They just allow me to understand the finances more than I could on a QuickBooks report. If I just ran a QuickBooks report, I might not really understand what it is, but having Dan there to really get a better understanding of what's going on with the business and the decisions I'm making and the effects that that's having. If we wanted to add another person to payroll, what kind of effects would that have? What the budget looks like. So having Dan here has been super helpful to really understand the finances and make sure everything's staying in check and we're not overextending ourselves and we can afford that very expensive but valuable inventory that I mentioned earlier.
That's interesting. I've spent some time with Dan, and he's an incredibly smart person. What unique skill sets do you think he brings that make you pick up the phone and think, I really need to run this by Dan? I think you pointed out it's really easy to compartmentalize the idea of somebody in the financial functions of the organization helping me make sense of reports. But that's so narrow and limited when you think about the strategic opportunity that's there to have somebody who's, your complement, your strategic complement to help you think about these things. How does Dan uniquely do that for you? What does he do that's, special or unique in your perspective?
Yeah, I would say he's almost like a detective of the finances.
Oh.
Recently, there was our shipping costs have skyrocketed just because of everything going on in the world. And he kind of uncovered that and realized that we were taking in a lot more freight via airplane, which is typically much more expensive. And he kind of figured all this out and brought it to me and said, like, your costs are up. And I said, well, yeah, that absolutely makes sense. That's exactly what we've been doing. We've been switching a lot of things to airplane, and that's just the result of the increasing costs and longer lead times that we're seeing for different products, and the Suez Canal blockage, you name it, COVID, whatever the problem of the week is. And he was able to kind of figure all that out and bring it to me, and it made 100% sense of what was happening. So for me, I knew that was happening, but I didn't know the implications that it was having on the finances. But when he laid it all out, we kind of figured out how that's playing into the margin and what that's doing for the budget. It made a lot more sense, and we were able to get a grasp of that. And I think since then, that was an issue maybe 2 or 3 months ago. We've corrected course, and we're on track to really correct those issues moving forward, and hopefully make more money.
That's fantastic. If you could have a conversation with 10 years ago, guy who's soldering in the dark, with his goggles on you, that's what I'm picturing. I'm picturing this Tony Stark building Iron Man type of a thing. But if you could have a conversation with earlier CEO version you, or somebody out there who's starting a business or struggling with the day-to-day sort of management of all the things of a growing business, do you have any guidance or advice when it comes to this idea of a CFO or a part-time CFO? Do you wish you'd done it sooner? Do you wish you'd done it differently? Would you tell others, hey, you should jump on this and make this happen because it will save you something? Or what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I would say anybody, if you're running a business that's kind of complex in even the smallest way, where there's a lot of moving parts, inventory, a lot of transactions, whatever it might be, I would say you definitely should consider a CFO. I had so many people tell me you didn't need a CFO, you're not at the right size. I would tell all those people they were all wrong, and having a CFO has allowed us to excel and just thrive so much more than if we did not have a that part up. That allows us to thrive so much more than if we did not have a CFO. So I would say if you're thinking about it, it's probably time for you to consider one.
That's a great sort of anecdote for it. If you're thinking about it, that's your sign. It's probably time. Justin, what's next? What's 5 years from now for you? As you think about your growth trajectory, don't reveal any of your keen secrets about the company, but where do you want to be? Where are you headed?
I look at us primarily as a great marketing company and a great e-commerce company. And I think that's where we're going to continue to thrive. While we love the product that we sell and we're all very passionate about it, I think there's other products that we could sell as well if they fit into what we're really good at in terms of marketing and delivering the product. So I think as time goes on, we're going to explore other markets that can fit our business model.
Well, I can't wait to see what you do and how you do it. And congratulations on really just an incredible story and an incredible success so far. Justin Tomney, CEO and founder of Ultra Bright Lightz. He's at ultrabrightlightz.com. Lightz is spelled with a Z. And Justin, thanks so much for sharing some time this morning, and fascinating, celebration, I guess, of what you've accomplished and where you're headed. And I'm glad that Dan and ProCFO Partners have been able to be part of the journey with you.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me. Thanks a lot.
Thanks for watching, and a special thanks to our subscribers. Consider becoming one today. Visit ProCFOPartners.com for more strategies and ideas for financial management and growth to help you put your business's financial picture in context.